Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahabe Kajura, but first are the headlines. Supreme Court closed over safety concerns, says Chief Justice Oweny Dolo. Some political prisoners freed after lifting of state of emergency. Rwandan Foreign Minister claims right to respond amid tension with Democratic Republic of Congo. In a sports news today, Rwanda renew acquaintances as CECAFA Senior Women's Championship kicks off. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. The Chief Justice Alphonse Oweny Dolo has ordered the indefinite closure of the Supreme Court in Kampala over a number of safety concerns. Now, Dolo said this in a May 30th internal memo, also copied to the Deputy Chief Justice, Attorney General, the Principal Judge, and the Director of Public Prosecutions, among others. We have the report. According to the memo, water leakages that have seen ceilings collapse and also flooding in the chambers of the justices of the court at Kololo, damaged furniture, and latest fire, among other issues of the safety, have necessitated that the Supreme Court premises are closed indefinitely until the problem is solved. However, he said the Registry and Electronic Court Case Management Information System Center will remain open to the public handle case filing, while judgments may be delivered using virtual electronic means. The development comes at a time when the judiciary is constructing 7-story twin appellate courts buildings in the city that will house all courts. The construction process of the buildings that is in the final stages is valued at 63.9 billion shillings, but will save the judiciary over 6 billion shillings spent every year in rent, including the current Supreme Court headquarters in Kololo, which have been closed indefinitely for leaking. Away from that, the NRM Electoral Commission has today released the party's own roadmap for primaries for the election of the Women Council and committees following the release of the roadmap.
Following a resolution by the NRM top management at the Secretariat that the Party Electoral Commission releases a roadmap to guide the NRM fraternity with regards to the election of Women Council committees countrywide, the NRM Electoral Commission has today officially released the roadmap. While releasing the roadmap at the NRM Electoral Commission offices in Kampala, the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Tanga Odoi, disregarded any election meetings that have been ongoing by any other office other than those coordinated by the party secretariat.
All sub-county registrars are therefore warned not to abscond from duty in the name of attending different meetings. They must be in their sub-counties because the verification will start on Monday. What we want to emphasize that the NRM Electoral Commission has not started any election in any area. We hear in other areas like Rumbaga, people have already said, you are the one, the chairman, this is the vice, this. We have not, the roadmap is just out.
Monday 6th to 9th June will be verification of NRM election personnel at village, parish, sub-county and district level. Tanga Odoi say that from 10th to 13th June, NRM leaders are expected to whip women and ensure their names are registered in all village registers. 14th to 16th June will be expression of interest of women and nominations at parish level. 17th to 19th June, candidates are expected to hold scientific campaigns at village level.
I want to call upon all the women, especially the NRM women, in all the villages of Uganda to get prepared because the time is now. We have been in office for 4 years. Our term of office is 4 years, but we amended and next time we are going to have a 5-year term of office.
21st June will be conflict resolution. 22nd to 26th June will be endorsement of NRM flag bearers at sub-county level. Monday 27th June to Friday 1st July will be presentation of NRM flag bearers to National Electoral Commission for nomination.
So we are now requesting all chairpersons of NRM, now that the Secretary General has written to you officially, to ensure that you manage the structure of NRM Electoral Commission. You actually work hand in hand with the district election officers, the sub-county registrars, the parish registrars, and the village registrars to make sure we have a smooth election of NRM women at the village.
The Electoral Commission said that the current women councils and committees were elected during the period of June and August 2018, and the Executive Committee of the National Women's Council was constituted on 23rd and 24th August 2018. According to the National Women's Council Act, the terms of office of the said councils and committees is 4 years, implying their term will elapse in August 2022.
Moving on, as the scuffle between government and natives in Chagwali refugee settlement Chikube district escalates, the Minister for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Engineer Hilary Onek, has revealed that the purported eviction is stage managed by some people who want to depict his ministry negatively for their selfish interests. We have the report.
This the minister said while addressing the media at Uganda Media Center in Kampala, that the people seen clamoring for land are heavily sponsored to come and lodge at the office of the RDC, forged stories of eviction, suffering, hunger, yet being transported, fed and protected by some forces, saying the strategy will not work out.
Changwari refugee settlement was established in 1960 following a land offer by Bunyoro Kingdom on the 20th April 1960. The land the encroachers are claiming to be theirs falls within above boundaries. Those boundaries, which is our boundaries, where we got the title, where we have the title.
According to Minister Hilary Onek, the contested land was given to government as an offer by Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom under the reign of Omukamasati Towinyi Gafabsa IV on 20th April 1960 to establish a refugee settlement. However, this was encroached following the 1992 return of Rwandan refugees and the 1997-1999 attacks by the ADF rebels.
In April 2019, Cabinet approved 6.2 billion shillings for resettling these people in the land that we have ceded off. Government also plans to provide the resettled people with resettlement packages in the form of agricultural tools, iron sheets, and other building materials, and avail communal land title to the settled people not to parcel for the next 20 years.
He further revealed that for government to avert this problem, the Office of the Prime Minister, together with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, will avail the resettlement funds worth 4.2 billion shillings to conclude the resettlement.
The people seen clamoring for land are heavily sponsored to come and lodge at the office of the RDC, forge stories of eviction, suffering, hunger, etc. They are fed, they eat, they have regular meals there.
Is there a phone around?
Such a strategy can arm twist government to whatever their objectives are. It will not work.
Changwali Refugee Settlement is located in Changwali Sub-County Chikube District, sitting on 13,000 hectares of land. The land has attracted confrontation between government and the local community, both parties claiming its ownership, resulting into an eviction that left Escowa landless.
Well, thank you so much, reporter. Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the Braid Channel. In international news, the Sudanese military authority headed by General Abdel Fattah released on Monday political prisoners. Now, according to the media sources, 125 activists were able to leave their cells. They were allegedly leaders of the Resistance Committee, a group opposing the military coup. We had the details.
The news comes after the lifting of the state of emergency on Sunday. Sudan's ruling sovereign council recommended that people detained under an emergency law should be freed. The defense minister insisted these recommendations were meant to facilitate dialogue between the military and the pro-democracy movement. So far, UN-mediated talks to solve the country's political crisis were rejected by the Sudanese Professionals Association, an activist coalition that played a private role in the ouster of leader al-Bashir in 2019. The prisoners were released from facilities in the capital Khartoum, Port Sudan and Rabat in the southeast. Unrelenting protests gathering thousands have taken place across the country. The October 2021 military takeover ended a military-civilian power-sharing arrangement.
Moving on, as tensions rise between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda's Foreign Affairs Minister Vincent Biruta has claimed a right to respond to protect the security of his country, Rwanda. Biruta was speaking on Tuesday at a press conference in Kigali. Rwanda's Foreign Affairs Minister Vincent Biruta's comments come amid a recent resurgence of attacks from the M23 rebel group has strained relations between the neighbors. Biruta also criticized the measures taken by the DRC government, which have included the suspension of flights by Rwanda's flag carrier, RwandAir, and the summon of Kigali's ambassador. Vincent Biruta said that the measures are unfortunate and advised that they should all be part of the framework of the Nairobi dialogue to seek a solution to the security problem and find a definitive solution, not only the recent question of the M23 rebel group, but also all the questions of the armed groups operating in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DRC and Rwanda have had a tumultuous relationship since the mass arrival in the DRC of Rwandan Hutus accused of slaughtering Tutsis during the 1994 Rwanda genocide. Ties had thawed after DRC President Felix Tshisekedi took office in 2019, and last year the neighbors signed 3 bilateral agreements to further enhance trade and democratic ties. Away from that, the soldiers have freed several hostages in western Cameroon, including a presidential party senator kidnapped a month ago by English-speaking armed separatists who killed a dozen of their suspected kidnappers. Take a look at the details.
Elizabeth Regina Mondi, 79, and her driver were kidnapped on April 30 by rebels demanding independence for the northwest and southwest regions, which are mainly populated by the English-speaking minority in a predominantly French-speaking country. In an army operation against a terrorist hideout on Monday evening in Ashong, in the northwest, several hostages were fled, including the senator, according to the statement released by the army. According to the statement, a military detachment was attempting an approach to the hideout when heavily armed terrorists opened heavy fire while their comrades tried to escape with the hostages. The separatist conflict erupted in 2017 in both regions after the government cracked down on demonstrations demanding equal treatment and more autonomy for Anglophones, some of whom feel ostracized by the 89-year-old President Paul Biya, who has ruled Cameroon for nearly 40 years. The war has killed more than 6,000 people and displaced about 1 million in 5 years, according to the International Crisis Group.
Now, recently popular all over the world, the African braid hairstyle is used not only as a hairstyle, but also as a social identity in Africa. Now, the hairstyle, which is made by adding synthetic hair to the hair or shaping the hair, differs from society to society in Africa. Take a look at the details. According to Mipo Chinku Edith Flore, president of the Association for the Promotion of Cameroon's Wealth, the African braid is the oldest hairstyle in the world, and each ethnic group in Africa has its own African braid model. Flore explained that ethnic groups from the natives of Africa, such as Wolofs, Fangs, Fulani, Mandigo, Maasai, Oromo, Bantu, Yoruba, Hausa, Bamileke, use an African weave model that reflects the geography they live in and their cultural richness. Expressing that knitting patterns in Africa reflect social conditions such as marital status, age, wealth, and rank, Flore noted that knitting also differs according to activities such as funerals and weddings that the person attends on a daily basis. Emphasizing that slavery had a profound effect on African history and culture, the African braid was the communication method of slaves who were not allowed to talk to each other. The slaves drew mountains, hills, and crossing points in the region with a braid in their hair to show their friends escape routes. Underlining that Africa was going through a very strategic period of exploitation, cultural historians reckon that slaves kept rice in the braided part of their hair and then ate that trace to avoid starvation. The hair of African slaves who were taken to America and Europe were cut completely without distinguishing between men and women. With the nappy trend, which was introduced in the 2000s to encourage Africans to use their natural hair, the African braid started to attract attention all over the world again. The movement was not just a fashion, it was also an expression of regaining their own identity. Well, thank you so much, your reporter. Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with business, health, and sports. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In our business news today, South Africa Statistics Agency has announced a drop in unemployment rate, the first drop is in nearly 2 years. Now, the continent's leading industrial power now has 14.9 million workers out of a population of nearly 60 million.
According to a statement from the government agency, 370,000 jobs were created between the fourth quarter of 2021 and the first quarter of 2022. The country was hit hard by the pandemic, and since July 2020, the number of jobless has been rising steadily. The number of unemployed fell by 60,000 from the previous quarter to 7.9 million. The unemployment rate stands now at 34.5%. Job creation benefited community and social services, manufacturing and trade sectors. Finance, construction and agriculture continue to lose jobs. Earlier this year, tensions flared against foreign workers. The number of unemployed young people between 15 and 34 years old decreased by 0.1% compared to the end of last year to 4.7 million.
In our health news today, in Malawi, state prosecutors have asked the High Court in the capital, Blantyre, to give life sentences to 12 people, including a Catholic priest, in connection with the murder of MacDonald Masambuka, a man with albinism killed in 2018.
5 out of the 12 defendants were found guilty of killing 22-year-old MacDonald Masambuka during a crime sphere that resulted in more than 40 murders and 145 assaults on people with the same condition. According to senior state lawyer Firirani Masanjala, the life sentence is what they were praying for and hoped that the court would see merit in their submissions. The defense wants jail terms not exceeding 10 years. Masaoko Chamkakala, director of Legal Aid Bureau, urged that they are still of the view that these are not as serious to warrant the maximum sentence because for them, the jurisprudence which they have read through and presented to court is that in terms of murder, it should be mass murderers and serial killers who deserve the maximum sentence. A Catholic priest, Masambuka's brother, a policeman and a hospital employee were found guilty of involvement in selling human body parts.
Kenya sports news today. The last time Uganda and Rwanda faced off in a competitive women football match was in 2018. Back then, the two nations had a good relationship. However, political tensions that have happened over the past few years had turned the once good relationship sour, with so many things happening, including closing off of the border post at Katuna. It is until of recent that after a series of interventions, Uganda and Rwanda share the good memories. We have the details.
As the 2022 SCAFA Senior Women's Championship gets underway today at FUFA Technical Center Njero, the two nations will be renewing acquaintances. Both Uganda and Rwanda are pooled in Group A alongside Djibouti and Burundi, who face off in the early kickoff, and the tournament is opening game. Crested Cranes have scaled heights since the last time they faced Rwanda, including qualifying for this year's Women's African Cup of Nations. This is not the case for Rwanda, who seem to have been on a downward spiral and missed taking part in several tournaments, including the last CECAFA edition that was hosted in Tanzania 3 years ago. George Lutalo, the head coach of Uganda women's national team, is oozing with confidence ahead of the game against Rwanda, indicating his charges are ready. Lutalo added that the tournament will help Uganda prepare well for the upcoming Women African Cup of Nations. The tournament will be played between 1st to 11th June at FUFA Technical Center, Njero.
Thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.